Hi everyone, welcome to GTCoding. In this video, we're going to create a responsive navigation menu using JavaScript. So let me show you a demo of what we're going to create. So this is the navigation menu, and when we click on this menu over here, we get the drop down, and when we click outside, it disappears. And the same we have with this menu also. So this is the desktop version, and if we decrease the size of the window, we have a mobile version, and if we click on this plus icon over here, we get this menu, and if we click on this menu, we get the sub menu. So this is basically what we're going to create in this video. So let's get started. So for this navigation menu, we are also going to use a font awesome icon, that is this down arrow over here. So first of all, I have created a folder called JSNav menu, and let's start creating our files. So first of all, we'll create our index.html file. By the way, I'm using Visual Studio Code as the code editor. So let's start writing our structure. So since Emmet is already installed in VS Code, I can just type exclamation and press tab, and we get this basic HTML5 structure. We'll just name it responsive nav menu. Alright, so now we will just open it with live server. I have an extension called live server, using which you can preview your website on your browser, and whenever you save your file, the changes will be reflected on the browser. So just right click over here and click on open with live server. So here is our web page. Now first of all, we'll create our header. So inside the body, we will create a header, and we'll have a division called main heading, and we will type GTCoding over here. So there's our header. Now first of all, we'll create the desktop navigation. So we'll have a division with the class name of desktop nav, and we'll have a nav element over here, and inside a UL we will have an li, and we'll have an anchor tag, and here we will type home. So we do have 4 menus over here, so I'll just duplicate this line of code. So here we will type courses, and here we have downloads, and here we have about. Okay, now we'll create the submenu. Inside the courses, we have 3 different submenus. So we'll go inside the li, and here we will create a new UL, and we'll create an li and an anchor tag, and here we will type app dev, and I'll just duplicate this 2 more times, web dev, and unity game dev. So these are the submenus. Now we also have submenus for the downloads menu. So we'll go inside the li of the downloads menu, and we'll create a UL and an li and an anchor tag, and here we will type Android, and I'll just duplicate this, and iOS and PS4. So here we have the basic structure of our desktop menu. Now we also need to have an icon over here. So for that, we have to import Font Awesome to our page. So here is the Font Awesome official website, fontawesome.com, and just go here and click on start using free, and you'll get this line of code over here. Just copy it from here. You can just click on this button over here, and then paste it in the head section of our HTML. Okay, now we have Font Awesome imported in our HTML. Now we'll just write the code for our icon. So if you want to see a list of all the icons in Font Awesome, you can go to their website and search for the icon that you want. Now for the down arrow, we have to write this line of code. And we have to give it a class of fa caret down. So here we can see we have the icon. We'll just copy it from here, and we'll also paste it in the downloads menu. Alright, now we are done with the desktop menu. Now we will create the mobile menu. For the plus icon that we had in the mobile menu, we'll create a division with an ID of toggle nav, and we'll just type plus over here, and here we'll create a new division with the class name of mobile nav, and we can just copy this whole UL from here and we'll paste it over here. So this is the mobile menu. Now the last thing to do is create this section over here. So just go outside the division and we'll create a new section, and here we will type something. Alright, this is our section, and that's basically it for the HTML structure. So we are going to create 2 more files in our project. So we'll go over here and we'll create a file called style.css for styling our page, and then we also will create one more file called main.js. You can name it anything you want, but just the extension should be JS, CSS and HTML, and we'll use this main.js file for all the functionalities of our navigation menu. So now we have to include these 2 files in our HTML file. So we'll go over here, and down here we will include our script file. So for that you have to type script, and in the source section you have to type the path of our script file. So we have our script file in the same folder, so we can just give the name of our file main.js, and we'll import our CSS over here. So just type link, and here we will type style.css. So now we have linked our CSS and our JavaScript file. So now let's start styling our page. So first of all, we'll write some code for resetting everything. So we'll write star over here, and we'll set the padding to 0, margin to 0, and the box sizing to border box. And for the body we will give a font family of Roboto. Now for the header we will give a background color of 333. Now we'll style the main heading division. We'll text align it to the center. We'll set the font size to 32 pixels, font weight to bold, padding of 48 and 32 pixels, and a color of light gray. Alright, that's it with the heading. Now we'll style the section, and we'll give it a padding of 32 pixels. Okay, now we'll start styling the desktop navigation. And we'll give it a background color of 222, and we'll give it a width of 100 viewport width and a height of 51 pixels. Now we will style the nav, and we will float it to the right, and then we will target the nav UL, and we will set the display to flex, and we'll set the list style to none. So if you don't know about display flex, I have a video on it, and You can watch it. Now we will target the anchor tags inside the UL, and we'll give it a padding of 16 pixels and 32 pixels. We'll set it to display block, and we'll set the text decoration to none so that we don't have any underlines for the anchor tags, and we'll set the color to white and the background to 222. Now we'll style the hover for our anchor tags. So when we hover over it, we want to change the background color, and we'll change it to 282828. So here we have the color changing. Now we'll target the UL inside the UL. So here we will set the position to absolute, and we'll set the flex direction to column, and we'll also give a box shadow of 3 pixels, 2 pixels, 2 pixels, and -1 pixels, RGBA 0, 0, 0, and 0.32. Now we'll target the anchor tags inside our second UL. So here we'll give it a minimum width of 170 pixels. Now I think that's it for our desktop navigation. Now we have to hide it for now, and when we click on this menu, we have to display this. So first of all, we will set the display to none, and when we click on it, we will display it using JavaScript. Now when we are on the desktop version, we don't want to display this mobile navigation, so we'll just target mobile nav over here, and we will set it to display none, and we'll also hide this plus icon over here, toggle now, and we'll set it to display none. And for this icon, we will have a little bit of padding to the left. So for the I, so if we go back to our HTML, we can see that our icons have a tag of I. So we can target all the icons using I. So we'll just have a margin left of 8 pixels. Okay, that's it for the desktop navigation. Now we will style the mobile navigation. Now when we are on a mobile version, the first thing we need to do is hide this desktop navigation. So for our mobile version, we will set a max width of 600 pixels. So we will type @media, and here we will type max width of 600 pixels, and whenever the page is less than 600 pixels, all the styles inside this will be applied. So first of all, we'll set the display of desktop nav to none, and then we'll style the toggle nav division. We'll set it to display block, and we'll set the position as fixed, and for the top we want it to be 24 pixels and right of 8 pixels, and then we'll give it a font size of 42 pixels, background color of light gray, and we'll also give it a padding of 2 pixels and 16 pixels. We will give it a border radius of 50% and a transition of 0.4 seconds, and we'll set the cursor to pointer. So here we have our toggle nav. Now we'll style the mobile nav division, and we'll set it to display block, and we'll set the max height to 0, and we will set the transition for is in out. So right now we have to design this, so we'll just comment this max height from here so that we can see the design clearly. Now we'll style the anchor tags inside the UL. And we will set it to display block. We'll set a padding of 8 pixels and 16 pixels. We'll set the text decoration to none, and we'll set the color to white and the background color to dark gray. Now we'll style the ULs inside the UL. So mobile nav UL, and we'll set the margin left to 4 pixels. And for the anchor tags, we will set the background color to 111. So that's basically it for the mobile navigation menu. So now here we will set the display of the submenu to none. So when we click on this, we will set the display to block using JavaScript. So now we have styled our desktop and mobile navigation menu. Alright, so now we'll go to the main.js file, and first of all we need to access two different things over here. The first one is the menu item with the drop down, so that when we click on this we need to display the child elements. And the next thing is the whole nav element over here. So if you go to the original design, we can see that when we click on this menu item we get this drop down, and when we click outside this nav element it disappears. So for that we need to access the nav element. So first of all we need to make a little change in our HTML. So for all the list items with a drop down, we will add a class, and we will name it dropdown, and we'll do the same over here. And for the mobile navigation, we will add a class called mDropdown, and the same thing over here. So that's it with the HTML. Now we'll go to main.js file, and we can now write our JavaScript over here. But before that, we'll open the console of our browser. If you are using Google Chrome, you can press Ctrl Shift and I, and you can go to console tab, and here we can do some testing for our JavaScript. So in our main.js we'll create a constant, and we will name it parent, and we will access all the drop downs. So we'll type document query selector all, because we have multiple elements, and we will type dot drop down. And the next thing is all the navs. So we have one nav element, so we'll type document dot query selector, and here we will type nav. Now if you go to our console and if you type parent over here, we can see that we get two different items. And if you type nav, we see we get this whole nav element. We'll just give it a comment, desktop nav. Now the next thing we need to do is add an event listener to both of these list items, so that when we click on this we need to display the drop down. So if we go over here in our console and if we type parent, and we will access the first element, and if we type child nodes over here, we see we get an array. And if you go to the third position in the array, we can see that we have the UL. So we need to access the UL inside this element. So we'll create a for loop and add event listeners to both of these elements. So we'll type for let I equals 0, I is less than parent dot length, and we'll type I plus plus over here. Now to add the event listener, we'll type parent I, and we'll type add event listener, and we want to add the click event listener, and after that we need to execute a function. So we'll create a function right here. Now we'll create a variable called dd status, that is the drop down status. So we'll type parent I child nodes, and we have to access the third element, and then we have to type style.display. So using this variable we will know whether the drop down is visible or not. Now we'll create an if condition, and we will type if dd status is equal to flex, then we want to change this to none. So we'll copy it over here, and we will type none over here, and if that is not the case, then we will set it to flex. Now we'll just check whether it is working. So if we click on this menu item, we can see that we have this drop down menu displayed. If we click on it again, it disappears, and if we click on this item, we get the drop down of downloads, and if we click on it again, it disappears. So we have it working, but we have some problems to fix. If we click on one of the items, we get the drop down menu, and if we click on this downloads, we see that we get both the drop downs. So to make this drop down disappear, we have to click on downloads, and for this to disappear, we have to click on courses. That is one thing we need to fix. And the next thing is that when we click over here, and if we click outside this menu item, we want it to close. So for that we will create a function. We'll create a function called close all, and we'll pass an argument over here. And what we need to do in this function is to close all the drop downs that we have opened. So for that we'll create a for loop, and we'll type arg I dot child nodes, and we know that ul is the third element in the array, so we'll type 2 and style display, and we'll set it to none. Now we'll call this close all function inside the else. So we'll type close all, and we will pass the parent as the argument. Now if we'll go ahead and if we click on these courses, we see this drop down, and if we click on downloads, this drop down will disappear. So we have that working now. Now the next thing we need to do is when we click outside this menu item, we want this drop down to close. So for that we have to add an event listener to the document. So we'll type document.add event listener, and we will type click over here, and we'll create a function, and we'll pass an argument, and here we'll type an if condition. If nav contains e.target, and we will check the opposite of this line of code. So we will type an exclamation over here, and in here we will type close all, and for the argument we'll type parent. Now what this does is that it checks whether we are clicking outside this nav element. So if you are clicking outside the nav element, then it will call this close all function, and it will close all the open drop downs. So let's test it out. So if we click on courses, and if we click outside, we see that it closes. The same happens with the other drop down, and we see that it is working correctly. Okay, so we are done with the desktop version. Now we'll work with the mobile version. So here we'll create a new comment, and we'll create a constant, and we'll name it mparent, and we'll type document dot query selector all, and we'll select all the m drop downs inside the mobile nav. So we'll type mobile nav space m drop down, and we'll create one more constant. We'll name it mnav, and we'll type document dot query selector mobile nav, and we'll create one more const for the plus icon. So we'll type toggle nav document dot get element by id, and we will pass the id name. Now the next thing we need to do is add an event listener to both of these. So we can copy this for loop from here, and here we'll just change the parent to mparent. So now let's check it out. I'll just close this console. So if I click on courses, we see that courses is displayed, and if I click on downloads, we see the downloads is displayed. Now we are seeing the drop down in one line because we are setting the display to flex. So we will just change this to block, and we'll also change it over here. Now if we test it, we can see we have the drop downs displayed. Now the last thing we need to do is make this toggle now button work. So for that we need to add an event listener to this toggle nav. So we will type toggle nav dot add event listener, click, and we'll create a function over here. Now we'll have a different approach for this. That is, we will add and remove a class called open, so that when we click on this one time, the class gets added to this, and when we click on it again, the class gets removed. So for that we have to add some lines of code in style.css. So here we'll go down over here, and below this mobile nav we will type mobile nav dot open. So you have to type it without spaces, and here we will type max height, and we will set the max height to the maximum height that it will expand to. So I'll just type 260 pixels over here, and we will uncomment this, and we'll also set the overflow to hidden, and then we'll also create a class for toggle nav. So we'll type hash toggle nav dot open, and we'll type transform rotate, and we will rotate it to 255 degrees, and we'll also change the color to 8F0303. Now we'll go to our main.js, and here we will type mnav dot class list dot toggle, and we have to give the name of the class, and we'll also toggle the class for toggle nav dot class list dot toggle open. So that's it for the mobile navigation. So we'll just check it out. So we'll click on this plus icon, and here we can see we have the mobile navigation. If we click on this, we have the submenus working correctly, and if we click on it again, the menu disappears. But I think that we have some problem with the rotation, so we'll go back to CSS, and we'll change this to 225. So now it is working correctly. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below, and if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.